Hello and welcome back, watch lovers. You know, if ever you're stuck in the middle of nowhere, miles from civilization, or you just say find yourself stranded on a desert island and you're trying to escape, the best tool you can have is a great big blinking machete. Well, let's suppose that you're lucky enough to find yourself stranded with a said machete in your possession and a month's supply of MRE in your backpack. Then a good quality watch is going to come in handy. We're talking one with a decent power supply or a good quality automatic movement, because a USB power plug is going to be hard to find. But what other qualities must a watch that will help you to survive the wilderness and hopefully get you back home to your comfy bed have? Well, let's find out as we begin our countdown of 10 watches that will help you to survive the wilderness. At 10 we have the Seco SKZ 211. Seco fans have lovingly given this watch a moniker or nickname, and it's also known as the Seco Atlas. The reason for this is that this watch has a built-in compass, and that means it qualifies as a survival watch. A compass is one of the most valuable survival tools you can have, and if you're in unfamiliar surroundings, then it can be easy to lose your bearings. Having the combination of a watch and a compass means that you can get back to the safety of your base or car before sunset, as temperatures can drastically reduce when the sun goes down. This watch also boasts a 23 dual automatic movement, which means that it's powered by your body's movements, so there's no reliance on external power sources. At 9 we have the Timex Expedition Scout. The Timex Scout is part of Timex's Expedition range. These are Timex's range of watches that draws inspiration from vintage military watches, which can be considered to be amongst the first survival watches. This watch will hold up in extreme conditions because it comes encased in a brass case which houses the ultra-reliable quartz mechanism, which has a battery life of up to 10 years. It's also water resistant up to 100 meters and uses Timex's proprietary Indiglow for lighting. This is an electroluminescent technology which makes the whole dial light up for reading the time in the dark. Needless to say, this will be useful in wilderness situations where there's no street lighting available, or the moon is hidden behind dark clouds. The Scout also has a chronograph function, which can be useful in emergency situations. The chronograph or stopwatch function can be used to time the distance between thunder and lightning to see if a storm is abating. If there's an injured person in your party needing resuscitation, then a chronograph can be used to time the strokes when performing CPR, so it could help to make the difference between life and death. At 8, it's the Citizen AT4008-41E, otherwise known as the Citizen Perpetual Chrono AT. The one thing which you don't have to worry about this watch is it running out of power. This is because it is solar powered and can make use of either natural or artificial light to charge up the lithium-ion cell in its body. Even when there is no light, this watch will keep on ticking for up to 7 years in complete darkness when it is fully charged. The sapphire crystal covering the dial is one of the toughest materials around, so you can be sure that the glass will stay in pristine condition when you're crawling through bushes and rough terrain. If you're taking it diving, it is water resistant for up to 200 meters. Another unique feature of this watch is that it automatically adjusts itself when it is in range of an atomic time signal, meaning that you never have to adjust it when you're crossing time zones. The calendar on it is also perpetual, meaning that it automatically adjusts itself for the correct number of days in the month and leap years. So, no matter how prolonged your stay in the bush is, you will always know the correct date and time. At 7 we have the Abercrombie & Fitch Seafarer. You may not have heard about this vintage watch before, but it was sold by Abercrombie & Fitch from the 1950s through to the 1970s. Back in the 1930s, Abercrombie & Fitch was a very different company to the one it is today. They had their flagship store in New York's Madison Avenue, and they sold high-class goods for the adventurer. They even equipped Amelia Earhart with a leather jacket for her flying adventures. So, in line with their sporting and adventurer heritage, Abercrombie & Fitch sold a line of watches under their own brand name and made by the Swiss watch house Hoyer. The Seafarer was the second line of watches they sold in partnership with Hoyer, and its uniqueness was that it not only included chronograph complication, but also a subdial at the 9 o'clock position to show the tide and moon phases. Based upon the solar theory of John Alderknight, knowing the tide times or the moon phases can give you a significant advantage when you're out hunting or fishing in the wild. This watch also featured a tough case for water resistance. The Suluna ceased being produced in the 1970s, and if you have one of these watches in your possession, you can expect to sell it for up to a cool $25,000 depending upon the version that you have and its condition. If you want to know more about these vintage Abercrombie & Fitch watches, I'll leave a link in the description below. At 6 is the Casio GShock Mudmaster GG1000. When you're in a survivalist situation, you may have to travel over tough terrain, and so you will need an equally tough watch that will hold up. This is where Casio's GShock range of watches comes in, because all watches in the range can survive a fall of up to 10 meters. The Mudmaster, as its name suggests, is resistant to water and mud, just in case you have to wade through a muddy swamp in order to reach your destination. The unique survivalist feature that this watch has is that it features an onboard twin sensor. This twin sensor can act as a compass, which we already know the benefits of, and it can also act as a thermometer to tell you the temperature of your surroundings. When you're involved in strenuous physical activities such as chopping wood, it's easy to lose track of your body temperature because you may feel hot from the exertion. However, temperatures can quickly drop once the sun goes down, and a thermometer is a useful tool to have to prevent hypothermia. At 5 is the Omega Speedmaster Professional. Most people know that the Omega Speedmaster is a watch that was worn on the moon when Buzz Aldrin wore it over his spacesuit on the Apollo 11 mission. However, it's more than just a space watch, it's also a survivalist watch. Being a NASA issue watch, it was also used on subsequent moon missions. This included the ill-fated Apollo 13 mission in 1970, which was due to be the third manned mission to the moon. During the mission, and before the crew had the chance to land their module on the moon, one of the oxygen canisters on board had exploded. This put the spacecraft's computers and navigational equipment out of action. Let's now listen to the famous moment when the crew radioed back to ground control to relay the problem.
Okay, Houston, we've had a problem here.
This is Houston. Say again, please.
Houston, we've had a problem. We've had a main beam plus undervolt.
Roger, main B undervolt. Okay, stand by, 13. We're looking at it.
At the beginning of this video, we defined a survivalist watch as one that will help you to get back home when you're stuck in the wilderness. And there is no wilderness greater than space. With the onboard computers being out of action, the only scientific instrument that the crew had left to help them to get back home was the one which they were wearing on their wrist, which was of course the Omega Speedmaster Professional. Jack Swigert, one of the astronauts on board, used the chronograph function on his Speedmaster to manually time the 4 minutes and 24-second burn interval of the craft's remaining engine to get them safely back home. The watch's accuracy was an essential part in saving the crew's life. At 4 is the Luminox 3051 Evo Navy SEAL watch. This watch is part of Luminox's C series and was developed in conjunction with the Navy SEALs and has been authorized for naval use. The Navy SEALs are an elite troop of the US Navy and are some of the toughest troops in the world, so if a watch is good enough for them, you can be sure that it's good enough for you to wear out in the wilderness. It's water resistant to 660 feet and features a unidirectional bezel. Its polyurethane case can also stand up to the toughest of knocks. The unique feature that this watch has over other analog watches is that it has a self-illuminating markers on the dial that is up to 100 times brighter than traditional watch looms and will continue to shine under its own power for up to 25 years. At 3 we have the Breitling Emergency. The Breitling Emergency has been around for over 20 years and is one of those watches that can genuinely claim to have saved lives. Breitling has a long history of making pilots' watches with models in its range such as the Navitimer. But what happens if your aircraft crashes and you're lucky enough to escape with your life? Well, you're going to need rescuing. That's exactly what happened to Quentin Smith and his friend when their helicopter crashed into the sea near the Antarctic back in 2003. Luckily, they were each wearing a Breitling emergency watch, which is equipped with an emergency locator beacon, or PLB. When activated, this watch sends out an internationally recognized distress signal. So thanks to the Breitling emergency, Quentin Smith and his friend were rescued within 2 hours. The emergency is now in its second generation, and the updated model transmits on 2 different frequencies. If you want to buy one though, you must first sign a waiver saying that you'll only activate the beacon in a real emergency. It features a titanium case, with a super quartz mechanism and is water resistant to 50 meters. At 2, it's the Rolex Explorer. Earlier on, we saw that the Omega Speedmaster helped astronauts get back safely back to Earth from a damaged spacecraft. Now we have another iconic watch, the Rolex Explorer, which helped explorers to reach the summit of and get back safely from the world's highest mountain, Mount Everest. The Explorer has been around since 1953 and was made especially for explorers by Rolex. It features a clear and readable dial design. Rolex's patented oyster design case, which is carved from a solid block of high-grade steel, making it water resistant to a depth of 330 feet. The automatic movement also uses special lubricants so that the watch can operate in temperatures ranging from extreme cold to extreme heat. The Explorer was one of the first models in Rolex's range to be fitted with an automatic movement. This helped enormously on the expedition because it meant that the explorers did not have to take their hands out of their gloves to wind the crown, which would not have been easy in sub-zero conditions. The watch's certified accuracy also meant that the crew were able to determine the safe climbing window during daylight hours. At number 1 is the Casio GShock GW9400 Rangeman. When considering several factors such as quality, features and price, this is the best overall survival watch you can get right now. G-Shock watches are known for being insanely tough and reliable, and this one is no exception. It is super accurate because it will synchronize with atomic time signals when available, and it will not run out of power because the solar cells built into the watch's dial will keep the battery topped up when either natural or artificial light is available. The triple sensor technology built into the watch is also surprisingly accurate. The altimeter, barometer and temperature sensors act like a mini weather station on your wrist, and you will be able to ascertain ahead of time if bad weather is approaching. Sunrise and sunset times will give you information of when it will get dark, because in some seasons, daylight can disappear within a matter of minutes. Lastly, it also has a built-in compass to aid navigation. If you want to check out further features of this watch or other watches featured in its list, I will leave links in the description below. Hopefully this video has shown you how having the right watch on your wrist can help you when you're in a survival situation. Do you feel that there are any other features that a survival watch should have that I haven't included when battery life is taken into consideration? Let me know down below. Thanks for watching the video, watch lovers. This has been Roger from the Vintage Watch Collector. Don't forget to give this video a like, and see you next time.